Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with
Ted.
And in this video we go into, why is this monster hitting himself?
Hey guys, jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we have another GM911 for you guys, and from...
This is from Travis.
All right, Travis. So Travis has a problem, and his problem is, he has a player that has a mirror of opposition, and they're using it offensively.
Right. So they're playing 3-5 because I don't know if this particular item made its way to 5th edition, and they've been putting it into a bag of holding, and every time they come upon what they would consider a big bad, because the thing can be used 4 times a day,
yes,
they pull it out, and the party totally does whatever tactics are necessary to get the bad guy to look in the mirror. Once they do so, the clone and the original bad guy have to fight until there's no one standing. Once that happens, the clone goes away. If the clone loses, well, they've weakened the bad guy. If the clone wins, bad guy's defeated, clone disappears, yay.
So the very first thing that we found that is probably a bit of an issue is that a bag of holding is 2 foot by 4 foot, and I'm going under the assumption that it is 2 foot in diameter and 4 foot deep.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that going on.
So the mirror is 3 foot by 4 foot. There is not an area that you would be able to get the mirror into the bag.
Yeah, so technically they would need to carry it a different way. Then there's other things. If you have no more than what you would normally put in a backpack in your bag of holding, it's a move action to draw it out. If it's more, and I think just by having the mirror by itself in there, I would say it's more than a backpack can normally hold. It's a standard action. It's either a standard action or a full round action. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be taking up some time for that player to be digging that out every time for the big bad fight. Obviously, there's a good payoff, so there's a reason to do it. But an intelligent monster might be like, "What's that guy doing?" and be a little concerned. So there's that to deal with. But he's already been doing it, so he might just be like, "Well, whatever. I made a mistake. I'm not going to correct it." Or I would probably do that as a DM. It's like, I dropped the ball. What are you going to do?
Right. So now that you've allowed the bag of holding to carry the mirror, and you've allowed the precedence of the mirror being used on the bad guys, how do you go about dealing with this situation?
Right. Either you had brought up off camera using a monster that doesn't cast a reflection.
So if you got things like vampires, well, they're never going to see the reflection, therefore it can't activate the mirror. And there's nothing to say that you as the DM, you can't create monsters that fall in the same thing every once in a while. Now, granted, you've allowed this situation to come up. The players are using it to their advantage, and kudos to them for their initiative. But sometimes you can't allow them to always be able to get away with the big bad fight going so much easier, because it's just not there.
So the other thing too is you could use invisible monsters, no reflection to say. I'm not even sure if they have to see it or if it has to be cast. But either way, invisible monsters, there will be no reflection.
Things that are blind and have blind sense.
No, that might not work if it's just merely casting a reflection in it. So that part I'm not sure about.
Okay, well, I believe when I read it, it says that they have to see the reflection.
Okay, so things that can't see, then that would work as well. There's monsters that naturally generate darkness. Any kind of thing that obscures vision would work as well. Beholders have an anti-magic cone, so that's not going to work either. So they're all things. And then there's other things that I thought about. What if the thing does manage to, have the clone come into the world? What if that monster has like Dominate Monster or something like that, and now you're fighting 2 of them? Totally do that at least once.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and then then they have to worry about they might have to worry about doing some kind of dispel magic or regaining control of it to make it free will or something of that nature.
Maybe they'll be just crazy enough when that happens that they'll shatter the mirror.
Well, that's the other thing. Now, if you have an intelligent monster, they're going to be like, "Oh, I know what they did." Like a lich or an illithid or something like that, or even like a beholder or a dragon. They might literally know what the magic item is you're using. It's a magical effect. I would kind of say it can be dispelled. So, dispel could be a counter to it. Any kind of anti-magic would be a counter to it. Shattering the mirror is a counter to it. And
Disintegrate.
Disintegrate. So if you have intelligent monsters and they realize what you've done, they're going to be like, oh, fighting myself is not really a winning situation. Maybe I should do this. Or like even better, at least one time, you got to do something that usurps control of the creature and make them fight too. Be like, all right, smart guy, how do you feel about this? Because listen, I love it when my players are clever, but you know what? There's nothing better when the players outsmart themselves. So now we can get into the thing that you wanted to talk about.
So the other thing, now all of this is some great ideas.
Here, wait, hold on. In a nutshell, Ted's like, why the fuck is this guy rolling random treasure?
Well, not that I said it that way, but that is it. That is it. Rolling randomly creates problems for DMs, and there's nothing to say that you couldn't roll randomly ahead of time for what kind of things are going to be present when you defeat monsters. You could literally roll a list. If you want to roll randomly, you can generate 15, 20, 30, 40 things ahead of time, and then you could just cross them off the list after you've divvied them out. But if there's something you don't want your party to have, don't write it down. It's that plain and simple. As the DM, you have complete control over what goes out to the party, and there's been many times where a certain magic item is overpowered given a particular situation or a different part of the world, and it's like, you know what? If the players had access to this would totally break things or make things super easy for them. I don't want to allow it. So you just don't.
Sometimes too, though, like players will think of something you didn't, and then like even if for all your careful planning, that thing that thing will happen anyway, just because they came up with an idea.
And that's fine. And those kind of things will happen. And yay, great, deal with them with the aftermath. But the other side of that coin is by rolling randomly, and I've seen this happen in games. I've seen players where they're never rolling for the magic armor or the magic sword that's going to make their characters better, and they're getting the wands, they're getting the staves, and it's like, well, this is useless to me. What do I do? Do I have to change classes in order to get access to this stuff?
Well, and that is definitely more of a problem in 3.5 and Pathfinder than is 5th edition.
Right.
In 5th edition, you can have a fully functional character at 20th level without magic items. Correct. There are very rare circumstances where you'll be completely nerfed without magic items. You won't be as good.
Well, and I recently played in a game where the characters were high level, and it was you're being tested. There is access to no magic items, and the players still perform spectacularly.
And off the top of my head, I think 2 of the classes actually can basically function as magic weapons. Both druids and monk.
Right.
Get that. Everybody else, everyone else, has some spellcasting or another. Some of the warrior classes might be a little pwned if they had to face something that is magic items or no damage, but there are very few actual creatures like that in 5th edition. Literally, there might be 5.
Right.
In the monster manual. But when you talk about a game like 3.5 and Pathfinder, literally everything is geared towards your character having the right amount of gear at the right level.
You've got, if I remember correctly, it's like 13 slots, and you're expected to fill them as you level. And if you don't, you're not performing up to spec.
Right, so. Which is kind of like leads to like a funnier discussion of how angry people were about 4th edition being like a video game, where there is nothing more video game-ish than the magic item system of 3rd edition. If you think about it, I'm literally picturing the screen from a video game with all the item slots that you're supposed to fill. So
all right, now we've gotten off track here. So Travis, I hope we've provided you some useful and interesting ideas. So if you have any further help for our GM, it's a great spot to do that, and that's in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And you can check us out over on Facebook for funny memes.
Until next time, stay nerdy.